I've been riding on the street since the 70s, off and on, and I thought I'd share some of my tips. I've never had an accident other than I hit some gravel one time on a hairpin corner and I went down. Learned my lesson there because there was gravel on the inside of the corner that got strewn across the corner from cars cutting in too close. Sometimes they'll do that. So you got to watch for that. But I have some tips. Well, the other crash I had was in the rain one time, but I was racing a friend. That was really stupid. It was really slick. Didn't get hurt either time. These are both out in the middle of nowhere where there's no traffic or anything. But I do have tips that I'd like to share. Things that I do, not necessarily things that maybe you want to do. I'm just going to, throw these out there because they're things I do and I think it's kind of interesting. People might find it interesting. For one thing, I don't like to ride in the center of the street. Sometimes I do. You have to look at the surface condition. It depends on the situation. But there can be oil and gravel, other things in the middle of the road. But here's an interesting thing that I discovered one day. Is that you want to follow, if you're following a car, make sure you're putting your wheels where his are, either if you're left or right. Because one time I was following a car, and all of a sudden he straddles a big 2x6 that was lying parallel with the road. He comes flying into view from out from under his car before I could have done anything. But luckily, my tires weren't in the center of the road, they were where his were. So that was something I never thought about before. But the car in front of you obstructs the view of what's in the center of the road, and he'll straddle it, he'll drive right over it. So you don't want to put your wheels right there. And if I'm driving down the road and there's a lot of oncoming cars and not many driveways to the right, I'll move to the right. And if there's a lot of driveways to the right, a lot of weeds going around them and so on, and it's 50 miles an hour and there's no cars coming the other way, I'll move over to the left. The left is generally the better spot to be, but sometimes I'll move to the right. Sometimes I'll ride in the center. It just depends. All this stuff depends. You almost have to have a sixth sense to ride a motorcycle on the street. I think a lot of it's subconscious too. Things I do. You just have to think fast and with reason. Another thing I did, or I will do sometimes, is like if I'm following a whole string of cars and trucks going down the road, like the highway, and I see a guy, he's got his left turn signal on. He's waiting for all of us to go by, and I'm the last one. Can he see me? Is he going to turn right after that truck? So I'll get really close to that truck, tailgate it just right as we go by the left turning guy. In case he turned right after the truck, he's not going to hit me. And if you could drop back, but if you drop back, he might think, oh, he wants me to go, See, you got to use your discretion, use your whatever you think for the situation is going to work. I know one thing is that going too fast is the worst thing you can do. I watch these motorcycle crash videos. I've seen a few of them, and speed is usually the factor. One of the things on riding on the street I see that's common is people are afraid to lean over in corners, and they hit a corner going too fast, and then they overshoot it. I just saw a video where a guy ran into a truck head on because he didn't turn enough. So if you're overshooting a corner, you better start turning right away. It'd be better to low side it than to just run into an oncoming car. But it's that speed. You don't want to go too fast. You got to be careful about that. Nowadays, I just cruise around the speed limit, 5 over or something like that. That brings up another thing. If a car came up behind me, I used to always speed up to get him off my tail because, hey, I'm on a motorcycle. That's an insult, I could smoke you. But I have a different attitude these days. I'll pull over and let them by. You're not going to control my speed. I didn't want to go faster on this road. I'll pull over and let them go. Another thing I'll do, so if I come up on somebody going too slow, I'll pull over and wait instead of trying to pass them. Because a lot of these roads are double yellow just about the whole way. It's like you'd have to get little you know, ballsy, I guess, just, way to put it, to pass them, and that's stupid, just, my rides are for fun. I'm not going anywhere. So I'll just pull over and wait a few minutes and take off. Then he's way ahead of me. Another thing I'll do. And another thing I'll do is if I want to turn left and there's oncoming traffic, I want to make sure, there's your intersection, there's cars all over. I want to make sure they know which way I'm going. So I'll not only use my turn signal, I'll put my arm out. I'll use the arm signals. Because how do I know my turn signal even works? Did I check it just recently? I know it works, but does it? It could have burned out just a second ago. And they might not see it. I want to use everything I can do. And another thing I'll do is when I stop at a red light, I'm always looking in my mirrors to see if the car coming up behind me is going to stop. And I'll be over to the side a little bit, over to the left, and I'll be thinking, maybe I could just get out of his way if I noticed the car coming up behind me wasn't going to stop, One time I was sitting at a red light, and two cars hit, and I got hit in the shoulder with a piece of the car. It didn't hurt or anything, but that was wild. That's when you like having all that gear on, That was crazy. I think it was just a piece of plastic or something like that. Piece of bumper. Yeah. I have this reflective vest I wear sometimes. I don't know. That's almost, maybe getting too paranoid. I have to go that far, but I don't know. I think it's a good idea. I don't always wear it. One thing about it I like is it almost makes you look official. Like you might be the officer of the law or something. Maybe people give you a little bit more respect. I don't know. That's up to your discretion. But it scares me to ride on the street. I take breaks. I take long breaks. I haven't ridden on the street for a while. Last time I rode on the street, I came up to an intersection at night. And a car was coming the other way, and I got there first. And he put on his left turn signal. And I was waiting for a car to go by, and he was going to go. He thought I was waiting for him or something, I guess. And he pulls out and almost hits the car because it was a three-way stop. It wasn't a four-way stop. And then I start to go, and he goes. And it's like, I guess he figured I'm turning left. He could see I was turning left, and he was turning left. So he figured he wasn't going to get in my way. But people are impatient. That's the kind of stuff, it's hard not to get angry with it. You just have to look at it like survival, You just can't take offense to anything. I got the helmet on. You can't see my face. I'm just, another bike rider. I represent motorcycles and the cars. If you got mad at every car that pulled something on you, you'd be a pretty angry rider all the time. I look at it like defensive, These idiots are everywhere. Don't get uptight about it. I see videos of people getting all these road rage on the motorcycles. That's stupid, Yeah, cars do that to me all the time, Try to cut over my lane without looking. I'm like, whoa, you almost hit me, I don't go up and then kick his mirror off his car or something like that, One time it was an old lady, she just puts her turn signal on, didn't even look, I could see her, and she just starts pulling over, like, hey, I'm right here on my motorcycle. You gotta be careful. It's just insane, it's nuts. But anyway, riding on the street is one of the most dangerous things you can do on a motorcycle. But I'll still do it. I'm always paying attention. It's fun. Well, that's all I had to say. So have a great day. Ride safe.